When was your earliest memory of being in the kitchen?
My earliest memory of being in the kitchen was when I was 5, 6 years old. I was very, very young. So my mother, I'm one of 8. I've got 7 siblings. So my mother was a working mom. So every day after she comes home from work, she would want to spend time with the children, but she would also like to cook for us. So after work, she would take all of us with her into the kitchen and just sit around her, and she will prepare meals for us.
You were 10, right? I read that when you wanted to make the perfect telur dadar, and that's how you started experimenting cooking in the kitchen.
Yes. So I was actually 9 years old. That was my first time cooking on my own in the kitchen, because before that it was all assisting. So I used to assist my mother and my late grandmother a lot in the kitchen. So my mom used to give us different tasks, helping her with cakes and stuff. So we would be helping her mix colors into her rainbow marble cakes and such. But the first ever time I went into the kitchen on my own was when I was 9 years old. I was really hungry, and my late grandmother, because my mom was at work, both my parents were at work, and my grandmother used to babysit us. But she was occupied with the younger siblings, and I remember just being super hungry, and even my younger sister was hungry as well. So I was like, you know what? I think I can fry an omelette. I think I can make telur dadar. So I went into the kitchen because before that, we weren't allowed to just do anything on our own in the kitchen, because it would, to be fair, it is quite dangerous, to be handling fire and sharp objects at that age. But I was pretty confident, and my late grandmother said, okay, just be careful. If anything, just scream. So I went into the kitchen and fried myself an omelette. And I remember thinking that was the best omelette I've ever made in my life. It was the first omelette I've ever made in my life.
Did you already know that you wanted to become a chef, at the young age?
No, actually, no. I didn't plan on being a chef back then. Well, one, because, in Malaysia, back then we're talking about, 15 years ago, even before that, they don't really call it chef. They call it tukang masak or cooks. Even if you studied culinary arts, even if you have a diploma in culinary arts, you will still just be a cook until you earn the title chef, which would take you about 5, 6, 7 years in a professional kitchen. So it wasn't something that was promoted back then. It wasn't even in school, no one I knew have ever said, my ambition is to be a chef. I've always loved cooking, but I never entertained the idea of being a chef back then, because I did not want cooking to be my job. So I remember my mom, she was saying, because after I graduated from high school, I told her I wanted to read law or journalism or psychology. And then my mom was like, you'll do great in all of that, but why don't you give culinary a try, since you really enjoy cooking? And I said, Mom, I would love to, but I just don't want to get bored of it. It's something that I love doing. It's my hobby. I don't want to one day wake up and say, I'm done. I have to go to work and cook, and then I come home, I'll be cooking. But then she said to me, because my mother, she was in HR for a really long time. So she said, you know how many people I have to deal with every day who hates their job? So many. Do you know how lucky you would be if you have a job that you truly love? If you can do something you're passionate about, and make money. And then I said, fine, I'll give it a try. No promises. If I don't enjoy it, if it's not what I think it's going to be, then, I'm not going to proceed and you can't force me. And then she was like, well, yeah, I'm just glad you're going to try something you love doing. So I enrolled myself in a culinary school. And I remember like the first week, I fell absolutely in love with it. I remember thinking, you know what, this is my calling. There's so much more to learn. Even though I felt like I was already good in cooking at that point, there was still so much to learn.
Yeah, and you went on to school at the Food Institute of Malaysia. How was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was really, really good. So I have a diploma in culinary arts because back then they didn't offer any degree in Malaysia. I remember thinking, so the diploma is in classical French. And I remember just, being mind blown in every class, like learning the French terms of things, learning the rules, the do's and don'ts, the process from like wrapping the ingredients to, producing something that is amazing. It blew my mind. And back then, we didn't have YouTube. You can't just simply Google recipes. You have to have like a recipe book. And even if you have a recipe book, you can't replicate everything. So like being able to learn, like for example, the basic mother sauces, that alone blew my mind because I'm like, oh my goodness, from this sauce I can make this, from this sauce I can make that. Oh my God, the possibility is endless. And I remember just completely falling in love with it. And I did so well that I represented Foodie Institute of Malaysia at a few international culinary competitions, and I won a few medals as well.
As of right now we are speaking, you have hosted more than 50 shows. Bring us back to the first show. How did that opportunity come about?
Okay, so the first show is called Icip Icip. That was done in 2007. Icip Icip, actually, it's quite cool. This was how I started basically in this TV industry. The producer, my first ever producer, is Aziz Fauzi. She is a pioneer in TV3. So she contacted a lecturer of mine. And at that point, I've already graduated and I was working part-time in a hotel in Kuala Lumpur. So she contacted my lecturer and asked if my lecturer knew anyone, female culinary graduate or female chefs that would be able to audition for this show that she came up with the concept. So my lecturer called me and I said, fine, I'll take the day off. I'll come and do the audition. So I did, and I remember just being super paranoid because I had to speak proper Malay, like news Malay at that point. So I remember just completely struggling because at home we speak with a little bit of northern accent, Penang accent, because I grew up with my late grandparents. They lived with us and they speak the thickest Penang. They have the thickest Penang accent. And I have that when I speak normal Malay back then. So I was like, you know what? It's either I go that way or I'll speak with, bahasa pasar with a little bit of English, And Malay mates, they were like, no English, no English. So when I did the audition, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna speak with my Penang accent, and I did that. And they were like, oh my goodness, you don't look like someone who can speak, with Penang accent. And I laughed. So, and after that, they told me, okay, we're gonna call you for the second audition. And I didn't hear from them for about a month, and then they called me. They said, you got it. So I was really surprised, but the show is really, really cool because it's a collaboration between Indonesia and Malaysia, actually. Icip means, it's an old Malay word, but it's still used in Indonesia. It means taste. So the producer is from Indonesia. His name is Jakalegawa. He had this concept that was completely different to all the other shows that were available in Malaysia. He said, I don't want anything to be measured in bowls. You're going to prepare everything on screen. And I was like, that's crazy. But it was also so fun. So I'll be like picking out the onions and everything and showing people how to peel and slice, which, at that point, even now, you can still see some of those, tips on TikTok or online everywhere, how to chop onion, like the best way to chop onion. But back then, it wasn't showcased on TV shows. So I believe that we were the first ones to do it here in Malaysia. So the show did really, really well. And in 2009 or 2010, it was bought by Asian Food Channel, and it became the first Malaysian show that was aired on Asian Food Channel.